college debt is not an issue in other countries. It's a huge issue here. You probably know that. A new study out today about just how big an issue it is. Debt in America, in specific, student debt is growing. Get this, a new study finds that as of March, 51% of student loans were in deferment or forbearance, up from 44.3% in 2011. That's a study by the credit bureau TransUnion. More stats. The amount students have postponed paying jumped 70% to $388 billion from March 2007 to March 2012. One other stat on this. 5.7 million Americans between the ages of 40 and 49 years old are still repaying their student loans, up from 3.3 million just 7 years ago. Okay, so obviously student loan debt, a huge problem in America. Now in this story, buried in this story, and it first came out in Dow Jones, buried in the story there is this amazing yet obvious, yet not secret revelation. The story reads, the impact on lenders has been minimal. The federal government handles most of the loans in deferment or forbearance. Now, I point that out because that means if you're watching this and you're not a student, you may think, well, this is not a big deal to me. Well, sorry, hey, students, it's too bad for you. No, this is a taxpayer issue. Because the government is backing these loans, the more that students default on these loans, the more of a built-in, essentially federal expenditure there is. Now, it's not to, look, I was somebody who said during the bank bailouts that if you're going to bail out the banks, then everybody else should get some kind of bailout. So I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing to quote-unquote bail out students. My only point here, though, is that this is not just a student issue. This is a taxpayer issue at a time of already massive deficits.
Yeah. And what's even scarier is you look at these numbers, and so we have 51% are in deferment or forbearance, and the amount that's being postponed is already incredibly large. But the people whose financial situation are included in these numbers already had, in many cases, comparatively better situations. Mm-hmm. Because now every year college is going up in cost. Now a lot of the students went to for-profit colleges, for instance, mm-hmm. where it's even more expensive, the chances of getting a job are even lower. Mm-hmm. Wait until they start being the ones who are making up the bulk of this, and that number that's being postponed or not being paid back is going to just shoot up even more. I don't know where this is going to end up in a decade or two.
And one final point on this, I would also say that we have to remember that debt is essentially money sucked out of the economy.
That's true.
That's not being spent in the economy. That when that there's an economic cost to, if you're having to make the choice, not really a choice, if you're forced mm-hmm. to pay back money on your loans, that has much less of an economic ripple effect than if you went to a store and bought something and then essentially primed the pump in the economy. So it's money that's pulled out of an economy that needs really the pump primed.
Yeah, I mean, think about, people are paying $300–400 a month in student loans. You know, we want to sell more American cars. That's a car payment.
That's
right
exactly
there.
right.